Recorder's on.
Okay. We'll start when Mr. Parker's ready. I want to welcome everyone to the retreat. I talked to Candy, this may be the first we've ever had, and I hope we make the use of the next 2 days, and I think we will. I'd like to thank Rose and Alicia for their help in helping set this up. A little round of applause for those two. I'd like to thank Brian for bringing this up probably a year ago, and it's something needed for our city, the council, and the city's future. And like I said, I want to thank you all for coming. Some have taken off work, some have missed tennis matches, some have given up golf games, and some of you taken time away from the family. To the staff, thank you for all you do in helping our city what it is becoming. Your dedication to your job shows, and I think as a council, we appreciate it very much. To the council, thank you for stepping up to help govern our city. There's not enough good people stepping up to do the right thing. You are the good people. The City Council serving from 2017 to 2019, I think will be remembered for getting things done. We had the task of hiring a city manager, who I think has exceeded our expectations. We started moving on the plans for the Public Works building, and it's near completion. I don't know if I'm going to do anything else there. We started moving on the plans for the Public Works building, and it's near completion. We concreted a portion of Ranch House Road, and the past couple of months voted to complete it to the freeway. We also solved our water crisis by starting a maintenance program on our wells and executing the contract with Hudson Oaks with the City of Fort Worth for water, a monumental accomplishment. We hired Rose to be our public information officer. Did I get that title right?
Close enough. Title changes from day to day.
We've done some road work, but there's more to be done. We worked on drainage, but there's more to be done. I think it's been a great 2 years. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. We did it. In 1968, probably before most of you were born, is that right? There's a guy named Kent Keith, and he started out in school, in government, in junior high, high school, in college. And in the 60s, the older ones remember that it was a time of turmoil. The Vietnam War was going on, there were protests, I mean, it was a lot going on. And this guy worked in speaking across the country, and he was going to Harvard. And this has been, look up the Kent State shooting sometimes and find out kind of the stuff that was going on then. And he wrote this poem, and Mother Teresa's kind of put her twist on it, and I think it's good. And some of the things serving in the government, I think we can all relate to. I won't read it all, but this guy did this in 1968. And if you get a chance, look it up on YouTube, Kent Keith, Keith, and look up why he did this. And it's a great little 7-minute video. It's called The Paradoxical Commandments. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honest and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest men and women with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men and women with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. When you spend years building, what you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you help them anyway. Give the world the best you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway. It's a great poem. I hadn't read it in a long time, and I thought it'd help us today. The last thing, strategic planning is an organization's process of defining its strategy or direction and making decisions on allocating its resources to pursue this strategy. It has many definitions, but generally involves setting strategic goals, determining actions to achieve goals, and mobilizing resources to execute the actions. How do we get to where we are now? Where do we want to go? What is our vision of success? What is going to get in our way? What do we need to be aware of? And what do we need to do to get there? The meeting today and tomorrow will outline what we want to do in the very near future, and I'm very excited to be working with all of you. Welcome. At this time, I want to bring Brian up, and he's going to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate those words. I think that poem it sets the stage for this. I think public service is not the easiest thing to do, especially public service today is not the easiest thing to do. And I know that y'all are all doing it for the money. So, so this is how we're going to lay this out today. Holly Gray Moore, who is the Mayor Pro Tem of Roanoke, is going to speak for about an hour or so. Aaron Farmer with the Retail Coach is going to come in and talk, and then I want to wrap things up with some TML legislative wrap-up later. And then we will go to dinner tonight, and then we'll start back up early tomorrow morning. We may move it to 6:30 a.m. just to see what y'all look like. Relax, folks.
Just tell a funny joke.
There it is. There it is.
I saved you. I got you to laugh.
Exactly. Holly Gray Moore is the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Roanoke. She's been on the City Council for 17 years, and she's been the Mayor Pro Tem for 12 years. And I think she started serving when she was about 12.
That's right.
She is the past president of TML, and she has done this presentation 100 times?
Probably, or more.
Holly specializes, and that's who TML uses to train new council members. And there's a upcoming, is it in July?
Yeah, there's one in July and there's one in August. It's actually next week, and then there's one in August.
New member council member training. It's a great course for you guys to go to at TML, but you're going to get part of that right now with Holly. Holly's going to give us some words of wisdom, maybe calm some fears, maybe motivate and inspire some. Let her give her presentation. Feel free to ask questions. Let's make this interactive as much as possible. So without much further ado, Holly Gray.
Thanks, Brian. Well, I'm happy to be here. I have to tell you guys, I applaud you for taking the initiative to do these kind of retreats. They're so important because you have to have your whole team on the same page, and you never can get on the same page until you sit down and you do retreats and stuff like this. So I'd say move forward and just do it. Do good anyways and keep going, because you'll probably hear a little bit of negative kickback from it, but all the good that you will do here today will be worth every letter that you might hear or see, so stay at it. As Brian said, I've been on our city council 17 years, and I've been involved with TML probably 12 to 13 years. I've been pretty involved with TML. And I believe this about new council members, and there are some that have been on a council a long time who still don't know, but I always say this, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, we don't get elected to office and immediately know the laws for our cities, right? I mean, we just don't. We know the basic laws, but there's stuff that we don't know. And that's okay, but it is prudent, and it's our job to learn those rules. So I encourage you to learn as much as you can, take advantage of all the opportunities at TML to learn as much as you can. Ron, your city manager, your ACM, your department heads, they're all members of organizations that are highly qualified and good at training them too, so rely on them. So don't be afraid to ask, because you don't know what you don't know. So I'm going to dive right in. Like Brian said, stop me at any point in time. I want this to be super casual. That's kind of how I am. So if you have a question or you just want to interject something, just let it rip, and we'll go from there, okay? I'm going to start by telling you guys how I ran for council and why I ran for council. I grew up in Roanoke. And at the time I decided I was going to run, we were at a real crossroads. We had a lot of new development. This is kind of similar to where you guys are. We had a lot of new development coming to town, but we still had our old downtown that we were doing nothing with, and it literally was falling to pieces. We had people with sewers backing up in their backyards, and because the pipes were not just dilapidated, they were gone. It was a mess, and we were building a swimming pool, a community pool. And I live in downtown, and I have, well, they're grown now, but I had small children at that time too, who obviously would use this pool. But it just really made me angry that we had this new money and we were going to spend it on building a pool and not take care of people who had sewage in their backyards. And I got mad and I was going to run for council. I hated our city manager. He hadn't been in Roanoke. He'd been there a couple of years probably. And I didn't like him because I didn't know him at all, to be real honest. But I didn't like the direction they were going to go, and so I was mad and I was going to run. My dad served on the Northwest School Board for many years, so servanthood was kind of in our blood anyway. So I was going to run. I ran. That year, that was the last election when we were all at large, and I lost by 2 votes. So I ran again the next go, and then at that point, then they broke us down into wards. So we have 3 wards in Roanoke, broke down, and then since then I've had an opponent one time through all of my election, but. Came on council right before I came on. The city manager and I had a really good exchange right before I came on. They were reviewing his contract, and they did it right before the new council took office. And he came up to me and he said, "Holly, I know you would be happy if I was driving a moped and I lived in a doghouse." I said, "Nope, that would be too good for you." And I came on council, and he was scared to death, and I probably was scared to death. And that was in May. That summer, we got all this stuff for the annual conference in TML. It was in San Antonio. At that point, Roanoke wasn't very involved with TML at all. They were members, obviously, because it's just a good thing to do. But didn't really attend a lot of classes. So we decided we were going to go to TML, and we attended a lot of really great sessions. And then we sat one night on the Riverwalk, and we really got to know each other. And he had small kids, and my kids they were about the same age. They all went to school together, and we really got to know each other. And today he's in Flower Mound, but I would tell you he's one of my dearest friends. Not just as a city manager council working relationship, we truly were friends too. So I say that to you. So I don't know everyone's relationships, but take time to get to know your city manager very well, your ACM, your department heads, know them, because it makes a difference. A big difference. You will find that you probably have a lot more common ground than you thought you did. So we'll dive in. I just like to start with the funny. If the government has the capability to kill everybody on Earth 5 times over, how come I can't do anything about the mosquitoes? Okay, that was a little chuckle. City Council met last night in special session to discuss a proposed sewer hike. All those interested in hiking through the sewer should meet in front of the sewage plant on Sunday. All right, we're going to dive right in. Everybody who's elected was elected for a reason. It was a mandate by the citizens who voted for you. I always think this is very true, and I did not come up with this on my own. I heard this very early on. There's a distinct difference between a statesman and a politician. I think we are statesmen. We are not politicians. We go and we work at the will of our citizens. We do what we believe is best for our cities with minimal or no pay. I don't know if you guys get any, do you? I don't. Yeah, I think we get like $50 a meeting, and that just started not too long ago. But the funny, and you guys know this, if you money that out, I'm paying the city, but it's okay. I do it because I love it. I love my community. But so that's why I say we truly are statesmen. One of the things that people ask me all the time is how we've been so successful in Roanoke with all of our economic development and our growth and so forth. And I'll tell you the reason why we do it is because we all get along. We have a very good mutual respect for each other. And when we're done at council, we're done. We don't walk outside and debate it all over again. We don't meet up at the Dairy Queen and flush it all out again about our council it's done. The decision's been made, and I'm going to tell you, for me, when I very first came on, that was very hard for me. I'm not going to lie, it was. I was pretty young and knew everything, or I thought I did. But it was very hard for me to do that. But I will tell you, that's how you have great success, is by consensus, and when it's done, and you respect it, and you move on. I will say everybody in here has a specific issue that maybe, like for me, it was one issue that I ran on, and some of you may be in that same boat where there was one, I mean, you care about everything, but there was one thing that really, well, everybody on your council has that same one thing, and I think it's important for us to be respectful of those things. What's super important to me may not be important to you, and vice versa, and we need to respect those and work with each other so we can meet all of those goals. You work with me here, I'm going to work with you here. It's just a good plan to always be respectful. And remember that those people, the people that voted for each of those people probably voted for them for that specific reason as well too. So it's important to keep that in mind and just be respectful of each other. Uh-oh. All right. I just mentioned this about handling things privately. If you have a real disagreement that you need to talk about later, do it at home. Meet somewhere and have lunch with someone. Don't hash it out in the hallway of City Hall where everyone around you can hear. And for goodness sakes, don't do it on social media. Hopefully none of you guys do that, I'm sure, which is a good thing, but have those conversations in private. There's no reason to do that in public. We all are there for one reason, and that's to do the work of our city. So handle those matters privately. As y'all remember too, as I just mentioned, we all were put there for a reason. The people who voted for us have specific things. We don't give up our right as citizens, but there's a fine line that there is between being a council member and a resident. You can't come down off the dais and speak in public input. That's just not appropriate. So you just have to remember that. I think this is probably one of the truest statements. Political instability is not to be confused with public debate. There's a very big difference between debating something and having a good, healthy debate and name calling and arguing. There's a huge difference. I always laugh about the cities around us. I won't say any names, but if y'all read the paper, you probably know. I always laugh when they're in the paper because we're not. And I always think when I read that, how embarrassing that's the image of their city, because that's what they're putting out there is all this infighting. And so I say when they're in the paper, we're not. That's a very, very good thing. Because it's silly. It makes developers and things, when they look at your city, they lose respect for your city, and it's just not a good place to be in. So I encourage you, always be conscientious of that. Consensus building is an art form. You guys know that. Not everybody's always going to agree, but at the end of the day, let's all get on the same bus and get to where we need to go, because that's how you are successful. But let's dive a little bit more into each of our roles. I do a lot of times when I do this presentation, I'll do it with our city manager. This is one where he usually takes over, but I'll go through it because again, it's so true and meaningful. But you guys, we need to always be sensitive as council members about our relationships. Like I was telling y'all earlier that our past city manager, and even our current city manager, we're very good friends. We vacation together. We have dinner together. But there's a fine line, and we know where work stops and fun begins, and you have to know that line. And as council members, we need to be so cognizant of that, even more than our city managers do, because there's so many more of us, and at the end of the day, they work for us. So be very, very mindful. And I'm going to say not be friends and not whatever. I'm encouraging you. If you guys don't know Brian, sit down and get to know him, and that will certainly enhance your relationship. But just remember, at the end of the day, we all have a job to do, and that's priority. Talking about authority, you guys are a general law city, and you guys have your city administrator is given his authority by ordinance. Super important. We are a home rule city. Our city, we have a city manager who works in the same aspect. I think the hardest thing for council members is to know our role and to remember that we have to go through that chain of command. Even if it may be easier to pick up your phone and call your public works director and say, hey, what the heck, there's a pothole right here. Can't do that. That's not how it works. In some cities, you'd be in violation of your charter if you do that. And I would think you'd be in violation of your city ordinance as well if you're not following the rules. Those are the rules. The problem with going outside of that chain of command is, what if your fire chief got a call from every council member who wanted something different? It's an impossible situation. You just can't do that. Everything's got to be funneled through your city manager and down. If you can't get your city manager, go to your ACM, but you've got to work in that chain of command. It's imperative. I'm not saying don't ever have a discussion with them about something. It's certainly okay to do that as well. But if there's a serious issue or something specific, it needs to go through the chain of command. And we have a newer council member, and this is very fresh for me, so it's been on my mind. But we have a newer council member who really had struggled with this for a little bit. I think we finally got her on board. But it was funny because we all had always told her, well, everyone had, if you go to the police chief, you go to the fire chief, you go to their first phone call is going to be to the city manager. That's how they operate. Even if you say to them, hey, I need to talk to you, but I don't tell Brian. I'm telling y'all, that's their first phone call. And if it's not, they need to go. Because that should always be their first phone call. So just save yourself some time, go straight to your city manager, work through the chain of command. It is just a better way to do that. We already talked a little bit about, we're through charter, you guys are through ordinance, we talked a little bit about that already. Goal setting, I was excited to hear you guys are doing this, I guess y'all doing that in the morning, right?
Yes.
I think that's so imperative, and I think that makes everything that I'm about to talk about and everything you're going to talk about today easier. Because if we all are on the same page, we all know what our goals are, everybody should be heading in that direction. And anything that deters that needs to go. And even if your number one priority is not the number one priority that you as a group hold, everybody's priority needs to be the priority. The nice thing too about goal setting, it tells your staff what they need to be doing too. It gives them clear-cut direction on what they are to be doing and what their day-to-day avenue should be. It makes it clear and easy. It makes it much easier for us as council members too to evaluate them if they're following that plan. We gave them a plan, just like we do in our everyday jobs. When we sit down at the end of the year and they say, did you do X, Y, Z? Yes or no. It makes it much easier to evaluate too. I will tell you, this is about the chain of command thing too. You got to be really careful too once you set those goals to follow those goals. And don't be rogue calling the city manager saying, hey, Jim Bob called me and we're going to need to redo the street for them because blah, blah, blah. Well, no, that's not in our goal. Maybe there's something we can do to ease his pain a little bit, but that's not our goals. We've got to work through, we got to stay on task. Even though you're going to have some people that you're not going to make happy, but y'all know that, right? I say it. So anyways, having those goals helps everybody know what the framework is. It helps your staff stay on track. It gives them the ability to be able to spend their time more wisely, clear messages. This also will help you with your budgets too, because you know as you're planning your long-term budgets what you should be planning for. So if in 2 or 3 years you want to build a library, you can start working towards that. Okay, when we get to X point in our budget, we're going to issue the debt for our library, or however you're going to pay for it. You have a clear plan for that, and the evaluation. This talks a little bit more about what we were talking about establishing routines, planning. You guys you guys cannot imagine how many cities don't do any kind of long-range planning. It is amazing to me. I don't know how you operate without that, because everybody's just kind of running amok, because nobody really knows what the clear goals are. So I'm really excited. City council retreats, just like you guys are doing, is a good plan. Just keeps everybody on the right page.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is this something we're going to have access to?
Yeah, Brian has his presentation. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I would say to you guys also too, I don't know how many of you guys have ever looked at any of your full ordinances or your planning and zoning, your comprehensive plans.
Not all the ordinances.
That's good. But you could do all of them. But seriously, you guys would be surprised.
I know.
How many elected officials have never looked at their city's comp plan.
Yeah.
They've never looked at, and I'm not saying you gotta know them by heart, but my goodness, you should at least looked at them, right? And know where they are and know how to locate them. And if you don't have the right answer, get them to who can answer their questions. It's amazing to me how many people don't, so I'm impressed that you guys do. That's good. Because you do need to keep up with that, looking at your budgets and stuff. I was sharing with them earlier, we were at a meeting, we were doing this class, and this lady came up to me, and she was brand new, and she came up to me, she said, Holly, I want to know how I can get the agenda before the meeting. I said, what? She said, I get my packet when I get to the meeting, and then when I'm done, they take it away from me. I was like, what? I thought she was. No. And she sat down and started talking to me, and that is exactly what had happened. She was a new council member, didn't have any support from her, nobody liked her, so they were going to make it hard on her. I was like, did you realize that's a law? That's open record? No, she didn't have a clue. So, educate yourselves. If you haven't done that already, do that. It's like, y'all look on your face is what mine was. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But really, so know what's going on, know where your budget is, your master plan, look over your ordinances, have a good idea about budget stuff, because that's what a lot of people always will ask about. Things, what's on your budget, what's on your CIP plans, those are the big and what new restaurants coming. That's in Roanoke, that's what new restaurants coming. So
Same here.
right, yeah. So be up for that. Also, I would talk a little bit about being sensitive. That on the impact of decision making. Be careful on the decisions you make. That if you teeter outside a little bit of what normal protocol is, that you're setting precedents for other things to come. If you let this developer do this, trust me, this developer is going to ask for that plus more because you gave it to them. So I would say once you have your standards and things in order, and we've dealt with this a lot on Oak Street, because we've done Oak Street, we did an overlay district on, and we do all of our signs by special approval, and it's gotten tricky because we've allowed this, and now they want that, and there's a lot of discretion in there, and it's tough. So I would say to you, once you set your plans and you set your zoning requirements and whatever your plan is, be very careful from varying off of that. And y'all are in a tough place too, similar to Roanoke too, because you still have a lot of old-time residents who've been there forever, and you want to try to help them out, and it gets tricky because you still want, like, especially for me, I grew up in Roanoke, so I live in all part of town, and those are all the people I go to church with there every Sunday, and they, and you want to do stuff to help them out, but you just have to be careful because you really can get yourself in a really sticky situation that's not much fun. I'll say this as you guys start to go through your goal setting today. Don't be too lofty. Don't decide y'all are going to build a $10 million building next year without some planning. Be realistic about your goals and think about the time it takes to do that. This is kind of the same thing, the goal setting in the sunshine. We always laugh about that. Don't say, well, we collected $10 million this year in sales tax. Well, next year we're going to collect $25 million. I mean, that would be nice, but be realistic as you're going through all that. Be concise about your goal setting. Make them clear cut. We want to do this. We want to be here. Be specific about that because that will help your staff as well too. Forcing consensus. This is probably, if we have had any little pitfalls in Roanoke, this has probably been it. And it's just been on a few issues, which I'm thankful about. One of them was when we built our Hawaiian Falls. You would think that would be a really good thing, right? A Christian-based water park, right? So we're thinking, yeah, this is going to be a great thing for our community. It was on parkland that the city owned that we couldn't use. It was in the floodplain. We couldn't use it for anything else. Made what we thought was a pretty good deal with Hawaiian Falls. Now we're kind of rethinking that, but at that point it was a good decision. We literally had a packed council chamber, people that were just furious about this Hawaiian Falls, and which we were kind of shocked about. I mean, we thought this was going to be a good thing. It was only going to bring biker gangs and gypsies to Roanoke. I don't know. I did a little research, but there were gypsies in White Settlement, but they leave. And just so y'all know, I did some homework. I needed to know.
Wow.
I think I got that off Wikipedia. I'm not sure. That sounds kind of Wikipedia-ish, doesn't it? But at any rate, we went into there and we were ready to act on this, and people were, well, I would say a minority of people were really, really upset about it. We walked through it. Yeah, the same thing about a skate park. We built a skate park, same thing. And the skate park and Hawaiian Falls are pretty close to each other. Same thing. So we got in there to act on it. People were really fired up about it. So we discussed it, and then we decided, you know what, we're not going to do this tonight because it's going to start a storm. Let's take a step back. Let's have a town hall or two if we need to, and then let's make a decision. Let people say what they need to say, and then we'll move forward. So we did that. We took a step back. I think we did 2 town halls on that, and then we acted on it. Of course, we still have people who were unhappy. You're going to have that. But the overwhelming majority of people, once we got ready to do it, were all on board to do it. Turned out to be very good. We've never had any biker gangs or gypsies at Hawaiian Falls, I'm proud to say. Skate park is the same way. The skate park has been highly successful. You know, they thought there was going to be all of this crime at our skate park. There's none because they're self-policing. I didn't know this. I'll share this with you guys, a little tidbit. As we went through the process, the designer said these kids that are skateboarders or avid skateboarders, they protect that. It's theirs. It's like their home. So they will self-police it. If it's dirty, they will clean it up. And it's true. They protect their facility. So anyways, all is well, but we took a step back, had a meeting or two, and kind of got everybody together. And again, you're never going to have everybody on the same page. It's just not going to happen. You're always going to have a squeaky wheel who, no matter what you do, even if you do for them, it's still, they're going to be unhappy. But you still have to act and do the will of the people you represent and what's going to be best for the city. And that's tough sometimes as council people because sometimes we are in a tough position. But that's what we were elected to do, is to make the hard decisions. That's our job. And if we don't want that job, we shouldn't take it because that literally is our job. The people who voted on us put us in those offices for a reason. And that reason is for us to make those tough decisions. And sometimes they are tough. I tell you, 17 years, I wish I had a couple of redos. But who? That I think at the end of the day, what I try to do personally is I need to, when I stop and we're in one of those tough decisions, I just kind of stop and think, okay, when I lay my head down at night, am I good with me? When my dad calls me, because he lives down the road, and he asks me, what? I can tell my dad, this is why we did this, and this is why I think that, and that's it, you know? You're never going to please everybody. You're just not. I mean, it's a lofty goal, but it's not going to happen. But just be good with yourself and know that you made the right decision and you did what you needed to do. Undefined roles. I think as we talked about this earlier, that will come down from your city manager, what he expects and who he selects as all of the folks that work for him. I'm assuming you do all the hiring and firing. Is that correct?
Most of it, yes.
So I would venture to guess that he doesn't just do all that on a whim, that he gets some input from other people here and there. But at the end of the day, we have to respect that and go with that. Check your egos at the door. That's very hard sometimes. I don't think that I have a super ego, but I think I have a super personality. So sometimes I have to leave that at the door because sometimes if I'm really fired up about something or I'm really passionate about it, I have to take a step back and just say, okay, this isn't about me. This is about Roanoke, and this is about the park. We gotta do what's best for our city and for our team. So be sure to do that. Failure to follow through. You want to lose credibility. Number one way to do it. Don't tell folks you're going to do something and not do it. I live this motto, under promise, over deliver. I think that is a good motto to live by. Do not tell folks you can do something that you cannot do. And we get emails, you probably guys are the same way, you'll get emails and phone calls all the time when people want you to do this now, they want you to do that now. You just can't do it. I'll tell you how I handle those situations. If it's via email, I'll answer their email and I'll always copy our city manager in on that email. And if I don't have the answer, I will say that in the email. Mr. or Miss whomever, thank you for sending me this email. I've copied our city manager onto this, and he will take care of this forward, and he will include us in, and Brad will do the same, include you in on whatever that solution was or whatever. But don't give an answer you don't know. Just don't do it. You guys know this in life. I tell my kids this all the time too. I would so much rather somebody say to me, "Man, Holly, I don't know, but I'll find out." I mean, don't you guys respect that more? It's the same way for city government. If we don't know, let's just find out the answer, but be sure to follow up with them, because that will make people so mad if you don't. so mad. Hidden agendas. This kind of talks about egos and stuff. Same thing we were talking about earlier. And then everybody comes in with something that's special or particular to them. But remember, we all have something that's special and particular to each of us. So leave that out. I went through this so fast. Usually this is like an hour and a half thing because people stop me in the middle and tell whatever. So I hope you guys we're going to have some conversation at the end here. I think I love this. The art of government is conducting business in such a manner as to satisfy the irritated without irritating the satisfied. And I think that's true. When we can do that, we've all done a very good job, I think. So, yeah, please ask me some questions. No joke. I'm happy to share with you guys anything that we do or how we do or what we've done or what I've seen. Yes, sir.
So in this day of social media and all the ways of communicating with the public, what does Roanoke do to...
We don't have a formal policy, but we kind of all in agreement. We don't do social media. We do anything that's coming from the city comes from the city. We have a public information officer. She runs all the Twitter, the Facebook. They do all that, and we don't do that at all. I will tell you, me personally, I have a Facebook page. It's a friend page. It's fun. It's about my kids. It's that thing. I don't do city business over Facebook. I'm going to tell you why. Because every bit of that's open records. And they can file for open records with Facebook. Plus, I think that the majority of people, what I see in Roanoke, the people who are on Facebook in Roanoke are negative, and they never show up at a council meeting. They never call you. They won't email you. If you give them your cell phone or even agree to meet them somewhere, they're not going to do that. They're really bad behind the screen, but they won't meet with you. That's my own personal. For one, I don't want to keep up with the storage of my Facebook page, and I just believe if you want to sit down and talk to me, I'll sit down and talk to you. But I would say be careful if you guys let everything funnel through the city. Don't do it on your own. Did that answer your question?
So do you have a city website?
We do. It's RoanokeTexas.org. I think it's .org or maybe .com. It's all spelled out. But it's all funneled through.
What kind of information do you post to the public on your website?
We try to put everything we can, our agendas on there. I think the only thing that's not in there, we don't include our full packet in there, but the agenda's on there, all city ordinances, master plans, budget, I would say probably every document within the city you could get from the city website, but we don't include our full packet in there. We've really never had a request to.
You've never had a request for the full packet?
We haven't, No. And most of the stuff we could, any of it's not, if it's proprietary or it's economic development deals, we're going to do that in executive session, which you wouldn't have to turn over. But I don't,
Okay.
But a lot of it's just basic information, especially replats and zoning and stuff like that. It's just kind of stating what your city's doing. But no, we've not ever had a request for that. But I don't know that we would have an issue doing that if need be.
So, to follow through, so what does your public information officer post on Twitter or Facebook?
Upcoming events, what's going on in the city, if there's a road closure, if there's a wreck, if a new business is opening, really just any kind of news or things that are going on in the city. I would say something big, something that's big going on in the city.
But not necessarily city business.
Well, yeah. Like if we're opening something new, if we have a special meeting, if there's something like that, we're having a town hall. Is that what you're referring to? Yes, absolutely. They would post all of that on there too. And we have pretty active Twitter and Facebook. I think our Facebook's more active than anything. But yeah, they post all of that on there and on WhatsApp.
Yeah, as far as social media, that's what you're limited to, Twitter and Facebook?
That is all we do. Yes, sir.
Do you live stream your meetings?
No, they do not. We don't record them now, but we have done that. Since we moved into our new city hall, we've started doing that some. We just don't. I will tell y'all, we're very unique. We might have 10 people at our council meeting one week, and we might have nobody the next week. We just don't have a lot of activity as far as that goes. We really don't.
Count your blessings.
We record our meetings, so that,
Record them, but not like.
yeah. But it's all open records. You could come and get them for sure.
Do you upload your recording to YouTube?
No, I don't believe so. We've live streamed on Facebook a couple of times when we opened our new city hall. But that's
Do you get any pushback from anyone about a lack of transparency?
no, not real. Well, I shouldn't say that. Yes, a little bit, because you always are going to have that. It doesn't matter how transparent you are; you're still going to have a little bit of that. But I always feel like if you follow the law and you do a little bit more, then you're in good shape. I mean, you're always going to have that. I say that if you're going to and seriously, if you have a constituent reach out to you, and every one of y'all will show them everything you have that you can. So I think transparency is a buzzword that people like to throw out there. I would argue that local government is the most transparent government that there is. We never make deals in the back room. We do it all. For local government, it's a misnomer, I think.
What's the population of Roanoke?
So
now?
we're about 8,500. Our daytime population's about 65,000.
Okay.
So people come into Roanoke, eat and spend their money, and they go home.
What was the population when you started?
It was probably about 4,500, I'm going to guess,
Okay.
4,000 or 5,000. We went home rule kind of in the middle of my thing, so. But yeah, and we'll never be bigger than that. We're landlocked, so we'll probably get to maybe 12,000, maybe. But we won't ever be any bigger. We are a low population, high daytime population, and we like it that way. It's better. They bring in all that sales tax money. You guys have that same opportunity as well too. I was telling Brian this earlier today. You guys are a lot like Roanoke early on because you guys have more opportunity because you have all that frontage that we don't have and didn't have. But I'll tell you that sales tax money is nice to have, and you can do a lot of great things with sales tax money, which is awesome.
And I get it from Scott, do you know what y'all typically bring in on sales tax?
About 14 million. That's type A and type B. About
For a
14
town of 8,500? No wonder you don't have anybody.
Listen,
I'm sitting here going,
Roanoke wasn't always like that. When I came on council, we were a city of 4,500, 5,000 maybe. We still had dirt roads. We had baked chicken. That's the only thing we had in Roanoke. I don't know if y'all have ever been down when our downtown was old. It was a piece of crap.
That was the last time I was there. You bring your lawn chair and sit out in front of
It was a piece of crap.
table there.
And
Right downtown, but you had to swerve and you knew you were in front of Babes because everybody was standing
Yeah,
along.
that's exactly right. It was terrible.
Bring your own cooler.
So we didn't start like this. When I started, we had a little bit, but we had some pushback. But we literally we really all got on the same page. We've had the same council plus or minus a person here or there. Probably almost the whole time I've been on there. We've had
we
a
don't
very
have that.
consistent council that it's just a good team. And I always say that we are a great team. We don't always agree with each other, but we are a good team. And we have a very, probably like you guys too, everybody on our council has something special that they bring to the thing. We have one guy on there who's a civil engineer, and he's perfect for that kind of stuff. We have a guy who owns a Sally's Beauty. He's a money guy, man. Give him the numbers. I think I lean more to more of the personnel kind of things. I think that's kind of what I bring. Everyone on our team brings something really unique and special, and we really support each other, and we try to work together.
So how did you handle the pushback from the city trying to grow and the people saying we don't want it to grow?
Well, it's funny because I tell people this a lot. You're going to have growth regardless. And I tell all our folks this all the time. The growth is coming. We either embrace it and we create it to be something that we want and that we can control, or you just sit back and you get what you get, because it's coming. It's coming.
So how did y'all handle that?
Well, I tell people that regularly in our downtown, and that's where all of this big stuff started when we started redoing Oak Street, and that's where all the older people live, and as I shared with you, those are all the people who vote for me too. We built a recreation center in Roanoke, and this is what worked for us, so I'll just share that with you. We have a recreation center, we have a senior center, and our seniors use that senior center for free. They use our recreation center for free too, over 65. They do that because of the money that's generated on Oak Street. And we have brand new sidewalks. And those sidewalks are generated from those sales tax dollars. So when they have a squawk about it, I say, yeah, y'all like having lunches up there on Tuesday, don't y'all? Like, yeah. I'm like, you would have to pay to do that if we didn't have all this. They'll talking about the rec center. We have a track upstairs. And a lot of the seniors will go up there and they'll walk on that track. I say, y'all like to walk up there on that track, right? They're like, and you do it for free, right? It sure is nice, air conditioned. I'm like, you know how you do that, right? All this. And it kind of puts it to rest. I mean, there has to be, your citizens need to see what their benefit of it is, too. And you can either not just with your seniors. We've been fortunate enough, we have a park in every one of our neighborhoods. And that's how we've done that as well with our economic development. And so we're building, as we're growing and we're getting all these things, we're still doing things in our community. Communities, I'm telling y'all are going to be like us. Communities of your size don't have, like for Roanoke, cities our size don't have the amenities we have. They don't. And we've done that because we took that sales tax dollars and we invested it back in our communities. And I think that's what you have to do. I think you have to show your citizens what their benefit is from this. If you build this is how you benefit from it. And I think that's the answer.
What is your property tax rate?
0.37 cents.
Because you have so much sales tax.
Is that?
That's city tax.
And you have warehouses.
Yeah, we have a big industrial, Alliance Airport, we have a big check and balance.
Oh, yeah, Alliance, okay.
What's interesting, and I'll try to answer your question, is I worked in Keller for close to 6.5, 8 years, and one thing Keller always strived to have is restaurants, and we tried to be that. We were fighting with South Lake, and we felt like a big donut hole, because used to we say, what about South Lake? And then we had to say, well, now you got Roanoke to the north of us, who has become a mini Grapevine, Main Street, destination. And so, but the thing I'll say for those guys, I knew y'all of ACM that was up there for a while, Deborah, and who's now in Flower Mound. But one of the things that she alluded to it was the consistency vision of the council and everybody that was in the leadership staff that put them in that direction. They didn't waffle. They had one vision, one purpose, and one mind, and one goal in place, and that's how they went through it. And we talked about you guys in Keller, and Keller has 42,000 population, and so here we are at 42,000. We got 1709 going, and we're worried about Roanoke because they're taking all of our restaurants, and we can't even get heartache there. All we can get is chicken.
It's funny, we collect more sales tax than Keller.
Wow.
And you're 68,000, they're 42, then we're running with 1709. So, the thing that I will say, and just to echo what she was saying, as a participant that was on the outside looking in, that's why they did what they did.
The other nice thing that we've been able to do too, and this is on Oak Street in particular, and this is exactly how we've guided Oak Street. We all kind of in our minds had a vision. We just built a new city hall, and it's kind of now Peabody will be it, but where it was, we always had this vision of what we wanted Oak Street to be and what we all wanted it to look like, and we all agreed on that, and we stuck to our guns about that. And the cost to develop on Oak Street now is so expensive, you have to have an incentive from the city to afford to do anything on Oak Street. So we literally can control what goes in our downtown because you can't do it without some kind of incentive. And I will speak a minute about incentives too. This isn't part of this at all, just kind of as a sidebar about economic development. Don't be afraid to use those incentives. If you do the right things, they will pay back tenfold.
Can you share the story about Heart 8?
Yeah, Heart 8. So Heart 8 was our third biggest restaurant. We gave them a pretty healthy incentive.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even remember how much it was.
150.
We did 150,000 for Heart 8, and I think we recouped it in like 2 or 3 years. They flirt with Babes. Babes our biggest restaurant in Roanoke, obviously. They flirt with Babes at the top. y'all didn't hear this from anyone from Roanoke, Texas, but they flirt around 7 million a year with us. So y'all didn't hear that from us. So that they're a pretty good business. But again, we had the vision of what we wanted Oak Street to look like, and we decided we were going to go get the restaurants we wanted to be in our downtown. We had Bates, but we needed something to complement Bates, and so we've been very selective about who and what we wanted in our downtown. And then we spent the money, and we have all but one business we have recouped tenfold what we gave them. So,
Do people remember the one?
sorry.
How many people remind you of the one?
Oh, all the time. But you know what's funny? We have a lot of people that will complain that don't even live in Roanoke. I don't know if you guys have that too.
Yes.
They live in EJ, or they,
Not even in our ECJ.
they live in,
No.
they live in Fort Worth. I don't know about y'all. I just disregard those people because I thought this was funny. So we opened our city hall, and everybody was so excited about it. And it's a beautiful building, no doubt. And there was a Facebook, and it was one of our friends from Empower Texans who started it. Oh, Ross, he went to high school with us. But anyway, he had this about how much money we'd spent on it, and there were all these negative comments about what we had spent on our new city hall and whatever. And I went through and I read every one of the comments. Not one person who commented negatively lived in the city limits. Not one person.
Oh, yeah,
Not joking.
we ran into that.
I'm stunned. I'm floored.
So I would say you just disregard because they're just squeaky wheels and they need to find something better to do. Like to me, I just don't.
And these
put
are the
any
people that are
effort
out
into
of town.
Yeah, they don't pay taxes.
Yeah,
They are never going to vote for you.
I started filtering through that.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, in our last election, there was $5,000 from people out of town that came in for my opponent. 5,000.
That's crazy.
So, you mentioned incentives,
Yes.
and you guys have a 4A and a 4B.
If I pay it.
So when Scott's giving me that number, it's 14 million, and that's all of your take. That's your 1%.
That's correct.
1% general, and then your half for 4A and your half for 4B.
No, that's just type A, type B.
Yeah.
I don't know what our part to our general is. That's just type A, type
It'd
B.
be the same as
Yeah.
whatever. So we don't. I mean, I guess without delivery, you can't just divulge all of it. But
Right.
we don't have a 4A or a 4B. We use it for. The county takes half for property tax reduction. We use the other half for our property tax reduction. Does that 4A and 4B, do you think that really opened a few doors that probably wouldn't have been?
100% think so. I don't think we would have ever got started on Oak Street if we hadn't had a type A and a type B. Our very first two restaurants that went down there were Twisted Root and it was Cowboy Chow. Now it's called Tacos and Avocados. It's the same owner. And I figure the Tacos and Avocados will be something else eventually too, because he's just the cool chef kind of guy, and that's his fun restaurant. But when they very first came, when we very first started with those guys, we gave both of them 100 and something apiece and put all these stipulations. They had to be in before the road went. They had to employ this many people. I'll tell you, we're very aggressive with our incentives, and we're happy to, we're happy to share any of that we've done. You have to employ this many people. You have to have made this much money by X time. But we're aggressive. But no, I don't think we ever would have gotten the ball rolling had we not been able to use that economic development money too. The nice thing about this too is it's easy to sell to your citizens when you have that type A and type B, because it's not their money. It's money that people are spending when they come to your city. So I always think that those sidewalks and stuff were built by people who came to Roanoke and spent money down here in our downtown. That's easy to sell.
And your incentives are performance-based, right?
Yes.
So what about before it started growing, was the staff small?
It was. We don't have a huge staff now either. We still are. I would say we're a pretty lean machine. We still run pretty tight. We don't have an economic development director. Our city manager acts as both in both roles. So we don't have an economic development staff per se. That's all done in administrative offices. It's all done through there. So we're pretty lean. When we go to do economic development deals, we'll just take the council. We just take the mayor, myself, and the city manager, and one of our council members is on one of our EDC boards, and we not take him. it works well for us that way, because we kind of, I don't know if y'all are like this too, but our boards are long-serving. People who have been on our boards have been on there a long time, and they're kind of in lockstep too. And I will tell you, that helps too, when your council is cohesive, and you have that plan, that sets the plan not just for your city, but for your boards as well too, as you're working through. If your parks board, I don't even know what all boards you have, that helps them too, to know where everybody's going, because you have this set plan. So that helps your boards as well too. But no, we're still pretty small.
How
Pretty
are
late.
your elections?
We are 3-year terms. So this last year was our off year, so we're 3 years.
So you go a full year without having any election?
That's correct. This year was our off.
How many
year.
members do you have on your council?
It's 6 in the mayor.
6 in the mayor, so 7 total.
And the mayor votes in the top.
So do you go 3 and 4?
3 and 3. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, 3 in the mayor.
Okay.
3 council members, and then the next. So like this next year will just be 3, and then the next year will be 3 and the mayor.
Okay.
He's the only one at large.
Have you always been on 3-year cycle?
No, when we went home rule, I can't even remember when. We've probably been home rule 10 years. When we went home rule, we wrote that as part of our charter, that we were going to go, we were going to do that. If the charter passed, that would go in effect immediately. So we wrote that into our charter. Personally, I think 3-year terms are awesome. I say first, for new council members, you spend the first year and a half trying to figure out what you're doing, what's going on, and then you get a really good grip on everything. And you got to run again.
Yep.
So I think, and plus you think about projects that happen in city government, they take a while, nothing happens overnight. Everything takes a little bit of time. So it's nice too, if you have a 3-year term, there are some things you can kind of see through where you don't otherwise, because you're always running for election or re-election.
So you said the majority of your council has been there?
They have been a long time. Now, we've had new people here or there. People have moved and decided they weren't going to run again. But I would say for the majority, there's 3 of us that have kind of been there in our mayor almost the whole time.
I had somebody ask me this just the other day. What's the longest serving person that we've ever had?
That we've ever had?
Yeah, in Willow Park.
Councilman?
On council. Well, okay, aside from Gene Martin. Yeah, aside from Gene.
Yeah, but even his wasn't
Hale
always
was on
consecutive. There were
Yeah.
times in there when he was out and came back in.
But Hale was
Hale was, yeah.
probably the second.
Yes.
Do you know how long? Do you remember how long it was?
Hale and I started when Brian, he's 21 now, and Hale passed away 5 years ago. So I'd say 15 years.
15 years? Okay.
And some later.
Because, anytime that I've looked at anything, it's like 2 years, 4
Yeah.
years.
Right.
I mean,
Did y'all have a lot of
it's just
turnover at the beginning of the growth?
Not really.
Okay, so you had a good cohesive group.
No, I tell you, we support each other too. We're not shy about supporting each other too when we're up for re-election. Some people have this adamant, I'm not doing that. I'm not that way. This is just my Holly speaking. If you're my partner on council and you're doing a good job and you're whatever, I'm going to support you. I'm going to help you. That's me. And I would say for the most part, that's the attitude of our council. We all recognize that we all need each other and we're a good team. So we like to keep working together.
One other question about
Sure.
the start of the growth. Did you feel like you had to do catch-up with some of the infrastructure?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we're still not
Then
done.
it's hard to show people that if you're making up for years
Yeah.
past, it's very hard to show that this growth is helping because
Well, you're still not done, but one nice thing about doing this planning that you're about to do, you'll be able to show that. So every year you can look back and you can say, so here, our problem is all of our infrastructure in our old downtown, right?
Right.
So we did Oak Street, which was the major, we've done all the major thoroughfares through our downtown. Now we're going back every year. We're doing a couple streets, paving, and we're doing curb and gutter, but we're just working through it. But it's nice because every year when we go through, we can say, okay, last year we did this and this. This year we're going to do this and this, and we have a solid plan. Now that's not to say that doesn't change. If you have some kind of development somewhere and you have to move around, but as long as you have a solid plan and you can show, look, we're doing what we said we were going to do, people are happy with that. Well,
Yes.
people are going to be happy or happy, but for the most part, if you have the proof there, it's hard to dispute that.
Did you
That's
do
why having a
some
plan's so important.
big bond programs?
I'm sorry?
Did you do some significant bond programs? with
We
this
do all of ours through. We haven't done a bond issue. We do it through COs.
Okay.
We've not done a bond.
You issue debt, though.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. We issue debt on it.
but not the GO.
Yeah, we do it through that. We've never had it, we don't do bond elections. I think that's our job. I don't think we have to do bond, in Roanoke we don't have to do that. I know in some cities you do, in Roanoke we don't. I know when we've had our meetings to issue debt, we'll have like one person show up and they've not been there for that, so.
Do they live in the city?
Probably not. This is no joke. I always laugh when they talk about the tax rate and how we're not transparent about our tax rate. Like the last 5 years, I've taken a picture of who we had there the night that we discussed our tax rate, and we've never had anyone at those tax hearings. This past year, we had one guy who showed up, and he was there because he wanted to know about the senior tax freeze. That was it. I like to take pictures. I showed our senator, which was pointless, but I did show him anyways. Yeah, nobody cared, but yeah.
So do you guys ever do town halls on a regular basis?
We don't on a regular basis. We do them kind of if there's an issue. You know, if there's something big going on, then we absolutely would do it. So I think if you do a really good job on your social media posts and keep people informed of what's going on, I don't think that's always really necessary. That's just me, that you have to do that if you're keeping people informed. But I will tell you, just taking a step back and doing those when you need to on those hot items will save your bacon.
How do you contact those that don't have social media?
We will print on our water bills. That I would say that's probably the major thing, is just printing it on the water bill, and we'll do signage around the city too, but really social. And then tell anybody at our senior center, everybody will know. They're almost better than social media.
So you mentioned your tax rate's around 30 cents.
Okay.
Does that include is that your M&O or is that your interest in sinking as well?
That's it, that's all.
Your total tax rate's 30 cents. You know what your interest in sinking?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll get it. I'll get it.
Call our city manager.
They have $14 million in sales tax.
And that's kind of the point, is that at some point you got to invest in that infrastructure and those improvements.
Oh, yeah.
I hate saying this, but if you're going to make money, you got to go spend some money.
Well, I'll tell you, that's the very first thing we did on Oak Street, where Babes was. That's the road that runs in front of Babes. That's the very first thing that we did, was we rebuilt that road. But in the right infrastructure, we spent a lot of money redoing that, putting the sidewalks in. They had to take the road down like 7 feet. Because TxDOT owned it, so they just, you know how they do.
They kept repaving.
Yeah, so it was like a huge mound.
It was just a crown. The crown was about to curve. It was like that.
So we probably spent like $7 or $8 million on infrastructure just on that street. Also, we have our Old Rock Hotel on that street that a guy in next city, and where did he live? I can't remember now. Westlake owned. It was a fallen down rock building, but it was an old saloon and hotel. He donated that to the city if we would restore it. So we did that with our road. It was kind of our way to say to our citizens, look, we're serious about this. We're investing in our downtown. You business owners, we want you to invest in it, and this is our commitment to do it. But yeah, absolutely, I am the biggest believer, you got to spend the money to make money. If you don't have the right infrastructure there, you're not going to be able to attract what you want. You have to spend that upfront money, no doubt about it. But you will get it back. Yes, sir.
How do you deal with a citizen? And I think we had one particular citizen last year, open records request. How many were there? One citizen last year with open records
It was
request.
72.
I'm sorry? I'm just a guesstimate.
There was at least 1 to 2 a week. So you're talking close to 100 open records requests.
For one person.
Yes.
I think what a lot of cities are doing, we don't have that, we have on occasion, but I think what a lot of cities are doing are starting to charge them. Like when you get to a threshold, if you see this, we're going to charge you however much per page for that.
We have that in place. She just would make them, they were small enough. She hasn't, and she's kind of slowed down.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a whole lot you can do except for put those dollar things in place. And
Do you think that's uncommon from other cities that you've heard?
yeah, I think a lot of cities have that. Some y'all have that ones, but you will. They probably don't even read them once they get them, but they're just being a nuisance. And unfortunately, the way that the law is written, it protects them more so than the city, and that's unfortunate. But that I don't, there's really not a good answer for that, so I wish I had one.
No,
We
that's
should
good.
talk to our legislators about that.
So
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with small communities, is it, like Roanoke has the main street, and Granbury here has the town square, is it always, do small towns need to have that central point, you think?
I think it's
We're
good.
kind of dispersed up in Willow Park, we don't really have a,
Well, we didn't either. All we had was babes.
Yeah.
We made it. Yes, I do think it's important that you have a gathering place.
Mm-hmm.
I do, but you can create that. We created that. We did not have that.
So for example, where the shops is where we went to drinks.
Yes.
We could, that or maybe another place, but you need to identify what
Yeah.
what your central location is.
Willow
yeah.
Park's never had a downtown area.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, before the shops, the downtown area was south of 20, right there.
yeah, was South Ranch House.
And it's still, I mean, that's part of my speech tomorrow. Is the development.
Well, I think it's important. Look at, so Roanoke didn't have that either. We had babes.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of and then decided that was going to be our new place. We started making plans to put our city hall at the end of the street. And I'm telling you, we've been working on this plan for, my goodness, 12 years or better. I mean, it's been,
You had Roanoke, for us,
12, 15
Roanoke was
years.
known for Babe's Chicken, and y'all started the Wild Wild West. There's now, what's the West, the festival?
oh, we do celebrate Roanoke as
Yeah, Celebrate. Well, way before that, what was it called? Because they were the only ones that did fireworks shows. So we
Yeah,
went
I don't remember what they used to call
It was wild. My kids
Yeah.
went because it's.
It could have been
This
West
was-
Fest or something
West
like
Fest.
that,
I might
yeah.
have called it Wild Wild West, and maybe I was wrong.
That's all
Wasn't
right.
that a song?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's because we took all the kids up there. And here's what the other thing is, I'll just give you a peek behind Keller versus Roanoke. Because Keller, when we did our festivals, they charged the kids tickets to go do stuff.
We don't.
Roanoke didn't charge anything.
We still don't.
Yeah. So as a parent with 3 small kids, where do we go? We went to Roanoke, even though I worked for the city of Keller at the time. Full disclosure here. But y'all always did a fireworks show or something, and so everybody went to that. And then so they changed the culture because it was a city that was a very, only thing they had there was chicken. You get chicken, that's it. But they changed it, but it didn't happen overnight. It was a process.
Well, look at South Lake. You guys all know about South Lake Town Square. That's South Lake's gathering place. That was nothing. They created their downtown space. You can do that. You just have to have good, solid planning. But you can do that. But I do think it's important that you have a place where you all gather and that that you can have festivals or you can have gatherings or whatever. I do think that's important.
And before the town center went in South Lake, their majority of their whole community, they didn't want development. They wanted to keep it 2 acres, horse, and a house. That was it.
Sounds
Am I right?
Well, and the bad thing about
South
the bad thing about South Ranch House is everybody down there thinks they're in the city of Alito. We need a campaign to let people know they need to realize and know that they're in Willow Park.
Well,
That's a sign.
yeah.
one of the things that I actually have spoken to the citizens group and whatnot is about getting a zip code, and which there are things we can do on our end, form relationships, state on the federal level and whatnot. But we had an encouraging conversation with the post office in Weatherford. It didn't even start out that way. It just started out on communication about the road, and it evolved into the one supervisor said, "I want y'all to just be 76089," and Brian and I were like, "We do too." And she turned around on her computer and said, "Let me figure out what the process is on that."
About having a place. So when you have those things,
We
you can
need
pull the
that
community
identity.
together. Talking about town hall meetings, that's a great when you're having a community
Yes.
thing, a community event, so you can tell them about what's coming and get
Yes.
some input. And the
We
new
gotta
businesses
have
can
that.
be there. And
We've got to have that energy.
When you drive up to a restaurant or a business on South Ranch House and it's on Ranch House and the window says Alito, Texas.
Yeah.
And they're not in Alito, they're in Willow Park.
But they have that zip
They
code.
have, yeah.
And on
Because
social
of the
media,
zip code.
people will get in an argument, people in Alito, that things that they like in Willow Park, that's Alito.
maybe there's some things that you guys can do with your business owners to encourage them to start promoting what city they're in.
It's a
And
different dynamic there.
Or something. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Ours, the difference is you're in Northwest School District, we're Alito School.
We are,
Yeah.
So
yes.
people love hearing that name.
Yes.
or, you know.
When-
Yeah.
When the Fuzzies opened up about a year ago,
In Willow Park.
in Willow Park, the grand opening, I didn't go. Fortunately, I had a baseball game. My son was playing baseball that day.
We were there.
So I had an excused absence. That did not stop people from calling me to remind Fuzzies that it's not Fuzzies of Alito, it's Fuzzies of Willow Park.
Every shirt in there.
Every shirt had Fuzzies of Alito. And,
But the owner lives in Alito.
yeah. And
What are
so,
you gonna do?
you know.
Well, if you go online and look up Brookshire's, it still shows Brookshire's as being in Alito.
And I'll give this argument for it. People can't find it when they put into because it's a zip code for Alito, and their maps, their GPS can't find it. And so I'll defend that part of it.
Yeah, I would
But
think as you guys grow, that will start to change.
well, we've got to get that zip code
That will
though.
change for you.
The post office told us Monday, and I quote, y'all need to be a real city.
Yeah. Yeah.
That will change.
Yeah, because it started out. That was at the very beginning.
That
The
was
very beginning. You're
that
not
was
a real city.
That was the opening salvo, and I went,
Yeah.
well, we're 3 times the size of Brock.
Yeah. But we're still a rural route, and so, I mean.
Did you guys notice this when you were driving in today? I was driving when I was coming up 20. It said, "Welcome to Granbury, welcome to Crescent, welcome to what was the other city? Cordova." I was like, okay, so where are we? They're all like,
Yeah.
Anyways.
I do have one question. Really. So, obviously, you know about SB2 and the legislation that was passed. How are y'all handling that with your? Because it doesn't really impact you a whole lot. Because I'm assuming your M&O is significantly less than your sales tax.
Yeah, our
$14 million.
impact, we pay for a lot of that with our sales tax.
So SB2 is not really going.
It will affect us.
Okay.
It will.
Okay.
My guess is we'll go all the way to the full 7% this year. Is my guess, or full 8, 7 point whatever, we'll probably go all the way. And then we'll probably gonna start looking at some hard cuts. We'll probably increase some fees here and there. That's my guess is we'll probably end up having to increase some fees,
Yeah.
is what we'll do.
Without SB2, would you have gone? You think you would have gone up to the 7%?
I don't know, because I haven't seen the budget stuff.
Yeah.
Last year we did. We almost went on, we were like 7.2 or 7 something last year, because that's what our citizens demanded. We do, like I was saying, we do all that infrastructure and stuff too, so people are okay with that. So that's why I think it's important for every city to make their own decision.
Mark down our decision.
If that's what the citizens of Roanoke demand of us, they want streets and they want this and that. Well, we're going to do that. We're going to set the tax rate where it makes sense for us, and every city should have that right to do that. But it's going to be tough.
Did you
But-
have a jump in property values?
Oh, we always do. Yeah, it's crazy, and that just doesn't fix our problem. It really doesn't. That's the whole unfortunate part of that is it fixes nothing. In Roanoke, it will save our taxpayers $20. I would argue if I did a poll of 100 people in Roanoke, 98 of them would say, take the $20, hire 2 more cops. They would, but unfortunately, they took that away from us.
I'm just curious. I'm planning on visiting with Scott and
Yeah.
others in the area to see how they're going to handle that. We're kind of exempt from SB2 because
Right now.
Yeah, but I think everybody knows we'll be in the boat in about 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point. It's interesting to see what y'all are going to do as far as your CIP goes, because SB2 is going to take over. But you have that, and this is the beauty they have, is they got a 2-part cocktail on their budget.
Yeah.
They've got very, very low property taxes and very, very high sales tax. To give y'all an idea, we're pretty much even. We're going to bring about 1.5 in on ad valorem this year. We'll probably bring in about 1.1, 1.2 on sales tax. But that gives you the idea of what we're fighting versus where they are. And I'm pretty sure that in your 17 years of on the council,
Hasn't always been this way. No.
but that's where we're at right now, is as a council and a staff, is that we have to figure out how to thread this needle with a very little bit of thread and a smaller needle. And that's hopefully something that we can talk about over the next, tonight or today or whatever, and tomorrow, because it is a financial challenge for us. But I know that in my mind, we can get to where they are. And y'all are far more qualified than Holly, so I'm not going to go faster.
Well, thank you guys for letting me come out and speak to you today. Brian has all my contact info, so if I can ever be a resource to you, please don't hesitate.
Do you want to make a plug for TML?
Oh, yeah, I do. If I can help you in any way, or you just have a question, feel free to give me a buzz or shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't mind at all. And we talked about this earlier. Get involved in TML. It is a great organization. There's so much knowledge, so much information, and so many things for you to learn the ins and outs of. The other beautiful thing about TML is all the networking. I can't tell you how many times something's happened in Roanoke, and I'll be like, talk to a guy from so-and-so, and they did this, and I'll give them a call and be like, hey, tell me again how you guys handled this, or the networking is wonderful. So I would say get involved with TML. It's going to be in San Antonio this year, which is a good year to go. It's TML 2 in San Antonio. It's a big conference. But it's good. There's just so much good information. There's also an elected officials conference. TML's for everyone. The annual conference, there's just an elected officials conference that's in February. I think it's in February. They do it in February or March each year. But it's a smaller conference. It's just elected officials, and it's about specific things that council and mayors deal with. It's an amazing conference because it's smaller, scaled down, and you really can get some good stuff out of it. Do get involved because it's so important. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So be good to each other and encourage each other.
One last question.
Yes.
You said you had your long-term plan. Did you put that down in writing and
Sure.
documented it? And
Yes, sir. It's
it wasn't
available
just
for anyone
somebody's
to see.
vision and everybody had a copy.
No, it is documented.
Nailed down and like,
Everybody can see it, and we pull it out. We pull it out. When we start to get bogged down, where's that plan?
okay.
That's not on the plan.
Do you fund that through different, obviously you've issued some debt, you've probably taken some out of reserves,
Sure.
you've probably used some of your sales tax.
Yep, just to depend on what makes sense. Like City Hall, we did kind of a combination of everything. We had some that we had put back, we issued some debt for it. Our park in the front, our plaza, we did a big fountain in the front. We paid for that type A, type B because it's a park, city park. So we got creative. But yeah, so it's just kind of whatever makes sense for us. So anyways, be good to each other, work together as a team, and remember your chain of command. If I can leave you with anything, it'd probably be those things. So thank you.
Thank you.
10-minute break, everybody.